Hello, everybody. Sometimes we have crazy weeks, historic weeks, where a lot of stuff actually changes. And this week is no exception. Let me just make sure I check the sound is working, because last time I did this, it didn't work. But hello, everyone. Yeah, we're live. Good. Anglo-Saxon, thank you. Sean Donnelly, good to see you. Let's get into the week that changed everything. I know it sounds a bit hyperbolic, but this was a week that I did not expect to happen. And thank you, Sean Donnelly, for coming. Let's get into the story, everybody. And it's about what happened this week. And of course, not financial advice. You guys know the drill. And thank you to everybody on Patreon. First of all, crypto versus Bitcoin the last 7 days. Not much happened, but everything keeps creeping up in unison. Sometimes Bitcoin's a little faster, sometimes a little slower than different assets. It's all over the place. But the real story is something very different. The ETFs had a monstrous week. Okay, this is one of the biggest weeks we have seen in a very, very long time. The ETFs finished the week pulling in $3 billion. That would buy you about 36,580 Bitcoin approximately. That's a big bag. We'll talk about big bags and hardness and scarcity and some modeling, because this is also the crazy week where treasuries are absolutely going insane. We're actually getting to the point where game theory is actually full on happening. I move my cup because the straw makes noise. Anyway, that is a very big week after what was a pretty bad 2 months before that. But again, risk happens fast. Now, I'm going to turn off my little self for this piece of charting here. This is important. We talk a lot about the short-term holder cost basis and how it's actually under realized price. But the cool thing about this chart is back in, for this, 60 days under the short-term holder realized price, we have an exact replica, and a shout out to James Van Straten who identified this. We have an exact replica of the same situation back between August and October 2023. And between Feb and April 2025, same thing. 60 days, the Bitcoin price was under the short-term holder realized price. Why do we care? Because during a bull run, what happens next is what matters. And last time this happened, let me try to calculate the exact percentage. I don't want to mislead anybody. Give me 1 second. This is so important. Short-term realized price. Here it is. Yeah. What last time this happened, the following 200 days, the Bitcoin price went up exactly 180%. Will that repeat this time? Well, if it does, that would take Bitcoin to north of 250K. Not saying it's going to happen, and we are in the world of diminishing returns, but this is a very, very important development as well for the Bitcoin folks out there. Now, there's other strange stuff happening too. We have a situation now where the activity on chain, I've been quite alarmed about the lack of activity on chain, but there could be a special reason for that. And the Bitcoin network currently has its lowest number of average users since 2019. That's 6 years. But perhaps this is expected because more investors are buying Bitcoin through the ETFs, or basically Bitcoin has been stored away as a store of value and not actively used by participants in the market at all, which is kind of crazy. If Bitcoin was valued based on Metcalfe's law, this would be very alarming indeed. It's like having something like Ethereum or Cardano or Solana and nobody using it. That's bad. For Bitcoin, though, no, I think because so many more investors are buying Bitcoin through ETFs, there's less action happening on chain. And that is just the reality. Again, nearly 40,000 bought by the ETFs this week alone. Big week. We'll see if Michael Saylor bought as well. But that is one alarming thing. Also, another cool chart. Shout out to Axel Adler. And here he talks about the short-term holder supply. Again, short-term holder supply is very, very important. But the short-term holder supply holders decreased by 360,000 Bitcoin, means they are holding longer. So if you're under 155 days, you're a short-term holder. If you're above that, you become a long-term holder category. And this is a very positive signal for what they call HODLing, which is good. But over the last 2 days as well, short-term holder supply added 70,000 Bitcoin. So 70,000 Bitcoin was added to this cohort, as well as 360,000 leaving it. And that represents distribution from long-term holders to new demand, everybody, new demand, which is good. And Bitcoin got above that critical 92,200 level. And the market is successfully absorbing this new supply, which is very good. Also, another fun chart from Coinbase. Here you can see over 7,000 Bitcoin were just pulled from Coinbase. That's over $500 million worth, ladies and gentlemen. And we're seeing this happening more and more. People are pulling their Bitcoin off of exchanges, and it suggests that whales are withdrawing their Bitcoin for long-term holding or off-platform use, perhaps, maybe DeFi or cold storage, etc. But this is a very good sign as well. Again, Bitcoin's getting harder. And that's important because we will talk now in a minute about what happens if somebody wants to buy a very big bag. Where will they get it? Alexandra, and up there in Canada, I hope all is well. Thank you for coming. This one, a lot of people, a lot of the old maxis were freaking out when Michael Saylor was buying and when ETFs were happening, etc. And this from Magoo, PhD, HODL Magoo. Almost no one is being honest with you, so I'm going to be truthful. Yes, Bitcoin is being captured by Wall Street, and then it will be captured by the central planners and sovereign states. This was always going to happen to Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin was ever going to be successful, the good news is that it is the only way Bitcoin can actually change these institutions is from the inside. It's kind of like a Trojan horse. If the enemy leaves it outside of the gate, it doesn't do much. But inside the gate, it can have a big impact. So a lot of people are concerned, oh, well, Bitcoin will be dead if Wall Street comes. And we're already seeing the impact of that with on-chain activity per this chart as well. Because the ETFs are sucking up so much, the chain is not very active. And that's logical. So yeah, the suits are coming. Should you be afraid? Well, the suits are coming. And hoodies too, because this was a huge week with that CEP stock, the new 21, that want to try and build the same type of Bitcoin bag that MicroStrategy has. 538,000 Bitcoin, 538,200 if I'm not mistaken. And the suits aren't killing Bitcoin. They're making it immortal. Everybody's freaking out over the latest 21 Capital news. Oh no, institutions are buying Bitcoin. Oh no, the ETFs are swallowing it. Oh no, Wall Street's coming. Yeah, no poop. That's the point. That's the game. And literally, people, if the ETFs did not happen and the Saylor did not happen, Bitcoin price might be $42,000. Perhaps. That's it. Because retail, the asset is too big right now. Nearly $2 trillion for retail to move it. Retail don't have enough dollars to move the needle. So I want that to be very clear to everybody. So if you're afraid of Wall Street coming, maybe you should think about getting another asset. But I think it's a very big positive. And I threw in there hoodies too, not just suits, because Jack Mollers wears a hoodie. Now, another great kind of thought experiment as well that we need to think about. Shout out to, of course, Adam Back. He is a legend. He is a developer that built a core piece of the Bitcoin protocol. But he talks about MicroStrategy and other companies, treasury companies, are an arbitrage of the dislocation between Bitcoin future and today's fiat world. A sustainable and scalable $100 to $200 trillion trade, front-running hyper-Bitcoinization, scalable enough for most big listed companies to move to Bitcoin Treasury. It's all about treasuries. I've been saying this since the middle of last year, and I've been heavily invested in Bitcoin Treasuries since September 2020. And you all know the name of that name. But even others like Bitcoin Maxis and Legends, OGs in the space, are now saying this is what's required. Again, the suits, Wall Street, ETFs, treasuries, They are all required to pump our bags, as they say. So shout out to Adam Back. And also, if you get this is so profound. And this one, when I saw it from David Bailey this morning, and shout out to Cal as well. Cal, exit the matrix. This got me thinking. And sometimes things happen that really trigger my mind to think in different terms. So David said, MicroStrategy's Bitcoin is not worth spot times the number of Bitcoin. In this case, for MicroStrategy, 538,200. It's worth the replacement cost. So let me explain what he's getting at here. Try go buy 538,000 Bitcoin and see how much it costs. The point is, if you are coming to market to buy that size of a bag, the price will go up significantly. And this is why, since 2021, if you've been watching this channel, you know about my multiplier. Some people will think it's nonsense. Some people think it is. But as a finance guy, if you imagine a world with 20 apples and a player wants to come in and buy a big chunk of apples all of a sudden, the price of apples will go up because the supply is fixed. Don't overthink this. Thank you, Andrew Blackson, as well. But if some player like the CEP, Jack Mallers organization called 21, wants to come in and their intent is to build a Bitcoin bag as big as MicroStrategy or become the new MicroStrategy, they've got to get 538,000 Bitcoin. And that will be very, very hard to do in this market, considering so many Bitcoin have been lost. As I say, there'll never be more than 15 million Bitcoin, not that magical 21 million but that people talk about. Now, getting back to this, you can pick any multiplier you want. Is the multiplier 1? Is the multiplier 10, 20, 40, 84? I know in 2021 it was 21, coincidentally, when Tesla made their big purchase, and I backed into the calculation. So if somebody back in 2021 goes to buy $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, the impact on the price is 21 times the actual spend, 1.5 billion, and you divide it by the number of Bitcoin, 15 million. And that gives you the actual impact to market cap, and that gives you the impact on price. So if that is to happen, somebody tries to buy 538,000 Bitcoin in the next short window of time, like 6 months, the price of Bitcoin would go to 149,000, which is an ROI of 75% from today. And that 21 multiplier was back before the previous halving in 2021. Okay, a long time ago. Or at the halving. It's much scarcer now. Only 450 Bitcoin are being issued a day. If nobody is selling, it's going to be very, very hard to get this bag. And we're seeing stuff being pulled from Coinbase. We're seeing a lot of Bitcoin being locked away in ETFs. Again, will supply crunch happen? I don't know. But I do believe the odds of it are quite high. Adam Q, thank you. That rhymes. Now, if the multiplier is 42, considering it's double the scarcity of before, previous to the last halving, that would take the price to 213,000. And if it's 84, the price would go to 341,000. And I realize as the price goes up, people will take lifestyle chips. They'll pay for kids' education. They'll buy new cars, new real estate, new vacations, all that stuff. I'm very well aware of that. As the price goes up, new sellers will emerge. But is it enough to offset a buy of 538,000? Can this new company 21 buy 538,000 and match Michael Saylor? I don't think so. I think there'll only ever be one Michael Saylor, one MicroStrategy. They have the magical first mover advantage. Stephen Weston, thank you, buddy, over there in the UK. So again, don't take this to the bank, but there's so many crazy price projections happening right now. We heard fun things from Saifedean Ammous and many others. So we'll see. He's talking $5.2 million Bitcoin. And we have Michael Saylor talking $50 million Bitcoin. Something is going to happen. If it gets adopted and money comes in, price will go up. So just be patient, everybody. Now, some people are making crazy bets all at the same time. So when you go back and you look at these numbers, like, oh, this IA guy, if there's an 84 multiplier, will take the price to 341,000. Yeah, well, there's people betting on a $400,000 Bitcoin, all right, in September of this year, which is less than 6 months away. So you can see this is, I look at the options action for, I always go out about 3 to 6 months, but I pick September, and 105,000 is the most common target. But there's lots at 125,000. These are the green arrows going up, 150,000, 200,000, and even 400,000. There's a few folks YOLOing at 380 and $400,000 Bitcoin price by September. Okay, for the kids at home watching, calculate for me below how many days until the 21st of September 2025 from today. And by the way, as well, the put call ratio is 0.34, which is very low, which is also very bullish. Nobody is playing the short side. Everybody's playing the long side. All the green is to the right. So fun to watch. Now, Mollers. Jack Mollers, former Strike CEO, and I think he's going to continue being the Strike CEO. He says, and this is from Vivek, he said, and he's been all over the airwaves. He is nonstop on TV. It looks like he is downgraded out of the shoe closet into some other smaller place. But he said, Bitcoin is about to go nuclear. It's coming. His intent is to stack as much Bitcoin as he possibly can. Can he get, 530,000 Bitcoin? I don't think so. If he tries, I guarantee you the price will probably go way north of 250K. But we'll see. We'll see how much they can actually stack there. We'll start with $42,000 and go from there. Now, let's talk about Bitcoin versus gold. I will move myself for a second. This is interesting because I was talking a lot actually on DCN Monday. I was saying, this is Indigo Hammer. Thank you for coming. And Dex in the UK too. Tons of Brits in the UK. Good evening all. Key insight here from gold correlation. First of all, I was very excited to see gold rally for the first time in 15 or 20 years. Woohoo to the gold bugs. It has been on a rampage, I think up over 26% year to date, which is a monster move for gold because the central banks in India and China and Russia are all stacking. But this is from Rational Root chart and it looks at the cool Bitcoin gold correlation. So first of all, if you look at the steady correlation between Bitcoin, say, and NASDAQ, it is extremely tight because Bitcoin is considered a risk asset. Gold is considered a risk-off asset. But here, if you look at the Bitcoin gold correlation, it fluctuates very heavily. Half the time, not correlated. Half the time, it is correlated. So there's no signal of direct correlation, etc. And Bitcoin has already had a great post-halving 4. And in fact, we had to hit a new all-time high before the halving, which has never happened before with Bitcoin. But its correlation with gold remains low. Now, if I look at this chart, and just as like a caveman would, what do I interpret? I expect the correlation to increase with gold as the broader dynamics of the market will shift as well. I also believe gold is overbought, so I see gold mean reverting, and I see Bitcoin going up versus gold over the next 6 months. Bookmark this if you want. And the crude way to look at it is Bitcoin is lagging gold, and Bitcoin will outperform gold here for the next 6 months. So we'll see. Bitcoin can't go up that much more. Now, there's other crazy stuff happening in the market. I did say it's a crazy week for crypto and Bitcoin. We have now DeFi Dev, which used to be, I think, Genover. They rebranded to DeFi Development Company. They are planning to raise $1 billion for Solana acquisition. $1 billion through, I don't know how they're going to do it. But again, so many treasury companies now, I've counted 6 of them that are stacking Solana and the rest are stacking Bitcoin. That's it. The 2 games in town, Bitcoin and Solana, huh? Go figure. But these guys are looking to raise $1 billion. Again, 65% of Solana is staked. How are they going to find $1 billion worth of Solana? And again, that will also, just like Bitcoin, drive the price bonkers. So stay strapped in, ladies and gentlemen. And just to show you the action that can happen, this is a company called Sol Strategies, CYFRF. The ticker in Canada, shout out to the Canadians, is HODL. HODL went up 41.26% on Friday because they are looking to buy $500 million. And of course, not to be outdone, you have our friends at DeFi say, screw $500 million, I'm going to buy $1 billion. So again, treasuries or the narrative, and have been for quite some time, but really they're going into high gear. And this is really going to kick off the craziest game theory that we have seen. And people are getting in position. And for many, these proxies are the only on-ramp they have to things like Solana and Bitcoin. And that also helps these stocks. And by the way, I do want to remind people, because people say, well, when the ETF comes, these companies will implode. Yeah, that didn't happen with MicroStrategy, and I don't expect it to happen with these puppies either, because they also do staking and they buy validators that generate revenue. So think of the Treasury strategy for Solana being the Bitcoin Treasury strategy, but on steroids with an extra afterburner. Anyway, just my caveman view of the world. It was also the week that the Dixie dollar index fell out of bed. It fell by another 1% to 99.2 on Friday. And this is the lowest level for the dollar index in over 3 years, ladies and gentlemen. When the Dixie tanks, it's good for Bitcoin. Bitcoin didn't quite have it's been gradually creeping up. It didn't quite have the spike that we typically expect, but it will. Again, when Dixie goes down, most of the time, Bitcoin goes up. So, it's from Tommy Twista. Everyone saw what happened with MicroStrategy and they didn't want to let HODL. That's dead right there. I'm going to share this comment because it's so important. Tommy Twista. And so cool. And the super mods. Shout out to Sean D and TND Tesla and Cade and everybody out there. This is such a good time to be alive. And finally, quick week recap. Tomorrow, by the way, is Q&A as usual. Meme du jour. I love this. A shout out as well to, I think it was shared by Flower. Flower, you know who you are. You shared it this morning. Meme du jour. You said buy Bitcoin, bye-bye Bitcoin, and sold. I said buy Bitcoin and Sol. Get in. So again, Bitcoin and Sol. That's what we do here. And of course, some AI as well. Thank you, The Great Escape. Sean D, Vitruvian Maniac, the whole gang all over the world. So good to see everybody. And good night to everybody in the UK and Europe. See you all tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a good night.